Is this the beginning of the end for the Red Bull empire? Can Max Verstappen withstand the pressure of not being the favorite in 2025? Today, I reveal the full story that's shaking the world of Formula One. For several years, Red Bull Racing established itself as the dominant and unstoppable force in modern Formula One. Max Verstappen, accompanied by a top-level technical team and supported by a highly optimized structure, seemed invincible. They won championships not only thanks to their talent on the track, but also to a near-perfect internal machinery, where every strategic decision and every evolution of the car brought them ever closer to the top. However, in 2025, that meticulous balance has been dramatically fractured. From the first signs of pre-season testing in Bahrain, alarm bells began to ring in Milton Keynes. The RB21, the car that was supposed to continue its dominance, showed serious technical weaknesses. Lack of traction in slow corners, inconsistencies in fast cornering, and unusual sensitivity to changes in tire temperature. This vulnerability, which in previous seasons would have been quickly corrected thanks to its elite technical structure, was left without an effective response. Red Bull hadn't just lost performance on the track. It had also lost several key members of its technical team after the internal turmoil caused by the Christian Horner scandal and the power struggles that erupted at the end of 2024. The internal environment at Red Bull Racing has changed radically. The loss of critical engineers, the drain of technical brains to rival teams, and division within the leadership have weakened the team's operations on all fronts. Confidence, once Red Bull's most powerful weapon, has been replaced by doubt. And this doubt is directly reflected in the performance of its drivers and the development of the car. Max Verstappen, the epicenter of his success, was one of the first to perceive and verbalize this decline. His remarks after qualifying in Bahrain left no room for interpretation. "McLaren are not my rivals right now. I'm just participating in this world championship." This statement, coming from a four-time world champion known for his fierce competitive spirit, marks a brutal paradigm shift. The resignation in his words reflects not only frustration over the lack of performance, but also a growing disconnect between the driver and the project that once catapulted him to greatness. Verstappen himself has acknowledged, with bitter honesty, that the warnings he issued during winter testing when he noted gaps of half a second over McLaren were dismissed or minimized by the team. This strategic disconnect, the failure to react in time, has led Red Bull to start the championship from an unusual disadvantage, forcing them to fight defensively, prioritizing minimal damage over clear victories. Added to the technical fragility is a profound sporting crisis. The case of Liam Lawson epitomizes the team's current state. His hasty promotion to the first team and his disastrous performance, including accidents, disappointing qualifying, and an atmosphere of uncontrollable pressure, led to his immediate demotion after just 2 Grands Prix. Red Bull, historically patient in developing talent, acted in desperation. Replacing Lawson with Yuki Tsunoda, although necessary in competitive terms, demonstrated an alarming lack of planning and a tactical approach that was more reactive than strategic. This decision also sent a devastating internal message. There is no longer room for error at Red Bull. The pressure for immediate results has replaced the traditional long-term vision. And this has generated a toxic environment in which even Verstappen is beginning to question his continued presence within the organization if the negative trend cannot be reversed quickly. Red Bull's downfall is not the result of a single technical problem or an isolated on-track error. It's the consequence of a series of accumulated fractures. The erosion of its internal structure, the loss of talent, power struggles, a lack of clear direction, and the excessive pressure to maintain a glory that can no longer be sustained with its current foundations. Meanwhile, its rivals are evolving, strengthening, and organizing. And Red Bull, for the first time in almost a decade, faces an immediate future filled with uncertainty and fear. While Red Bull reels under the weight of its own mistakes, McLaren is emerging as the renewed force rewriting the Formula One order in 2025. What to many might have seemed like a simple continuation of the 2024 success is actually the result of a profound, strategic, and almost surgical transformation that the Woking team executed over the winter. McLaren not only understood its weaknesses of the recent past, but also faced them with brutal internal honesty. The development of the MCL39 was not a timid or conservative evolution from the 2024 championship car. It was a bold undertaking, a total re-engineering aimed at maximizing every millimeter of the current technical regulations. Andrea Stella, the team principal, made it clear from the car's launch that they would not settle for being good. They sought to be perfect. Under his leadership, every element of the car was reconsidered, redesigned, or improved. From the suspension layouts to the overall aerodynamic philosophy, including the refinement of tire temperature control. Everything was optimized with a methodical and uncompromising approach. The first public indication of the MCL39's power came at Silverstone during the secret launch event. Although camouflaged under a special livery for Formula One's 75th anniversary, experts who analyzed its lines quickly noted superior aerodynamic refinement. The real confirmation came in Bahrain, not so much from the lap times, but from McLaren's approach. Rather than seeking headlines with fast laps, they focused on long simulations, confident that its true potential would be revealed when it mattered most. And so it was. In the inaugural Australian Grand Prix, McLaren not only won, it dominated with intelligence, adaptability, and a serenity that contrasted sharply with the nervousness of its rivals. Lando Norris, always fast but sometimes prone to errors under pressure in previous seasons, displayed a competitive maturity never seen before. His ability to manage changing weather conditions, heavy traffic, and strategic pressure throughout the race demonstrated an evolution as a driver that goes hand in hand with the technical development of his team. Oscar Piastri, for his part, proved to be more than an excellent wingman. His solid performance in qualifying, his consistent race pace, and his tactical understanding of track situations have positioned him as a real and constant contender. The result is a McLaren that doesn't rely solely on a single driver to achieve results, but rather presents itself as a perfectly tuned machine, capable of maximizing points at every opportunity. McLaren's success is not simply a matter of pure speed. It's a combination of multiple factors, where strategic preparation plays a fundamental role. The team has managed to create a balanced car, with excellent traction in slow corners, stability in fast corners, and aerodynamic efficiency that allows them to be competitive on both high-speed circuits and more technical layouts. Added to this is near-flawless tire management, the result of exhaustive work on suspension calibration and variable downforce optimization. Furthermore, McLaren's race operations department has made a notable leap in quality. Pit stop strategies, communication between engineers and drivers, and understanding of race situations are now strengths, whereas in the recent past they were precisely its main weaknesses. This operational evolution has been decisive in races such as Australia and China, where McLaren was able to adapt to weather changes, race interruptions, and critical decision-making moments. An equally important factor is the psychological strength that McLaren has cultivated within its team. Far from the destructive pressure seen at other teams, the atmosphere in Woking is one of mutual trust, shared responsibility, and clear objectives. Every member of the team, from the pit lane mechanics to the race engineers, is aligned under a single vision: to regain the top of Formula One not as a fluke, but as a natural consequence of collective excellence. While McLaren continues to fine-tune its performance, its rivals, caught in internal struggles or struggling with developmental crises, are struggling to stay afloat. And in a championship as long as it is demanding, this difference in approach and preparation could be the key for McLaren to not only win races, but also build a new dynasty in motorsport's top category. Red Bull's current situation not only raises doubts about its immediate sporting performance, but also raises an even more troubling question. What future awaits Max Verstappen and the organization itself amid this unprecedented crisis? Max Verstappen, who for years was the emblem of Red Bull's supremacy, has already shown clear signs of discontent. It's not just his dissatisfaction with the RB21's performance, it's something deeper, the feeling that the structure that unconditionally supported him is crumbling around him. The competitive environment that once offered him absolute guarantees of success now appears fragile, divided, and lacking a clear direction. Verstappen's contractual situation, while theoretically protected until 2028, contains performance clauses that could open the door to an early exit if Red Bull cannot provide him with a winning car. And that scenario, which seemed remote just a year ago, is now emerging as a tangible possibility. Statements from figures close to the driver, such as his father, Jos Verstappen, leave no room for doubt. Max wants to win, not fight for fifth place. This isn't simply a threat. It's a roadmap that Red Bull ignores at its own peril. Internally, Red Bull has begun to move desperately to try to stem the tide. The direct request for Verstappen to participate in strategic meetings regarding the development of the RB21 and its future updates is a sign of the team's total dependence on its star. However, this attempt to involve him more in technical decisions doesn't necessarily solve the underlying problem: the loss of confidence in the team's overall structure and the evident inability to evolve quickly in a highly competitive environment. On a technical level, the outlook is bleak. The RB21, despite recent fixes, continues to suffer from fundamental problems in aerodynamic balance, traction in low-speed corners, and tire degradation in high-temperature conditions. The lack of effective updates and the loss of talent in the engineering department further exacerbate this situation. The promise of a radical evolution of the car to mitigate these problems is, at best, uncertain and at worst, an optimistic illusion. As if that weren't enough, the handling of the driver lineups has revealed another alarming symptom. The rapid demotion of Liam Lawson, coupled with the urgent signing of Yuki Tsunoda, not only affected the team's image but also deteriorated the perception of internal stability so valued by world champions. In a sport where trust and operational predictability are key to building sustained success, Red Bull has demonstrated in just a few weeks a vulnerability that was unthinkable just a year ago. The combination of an uncompetitive car, a fractured internal structure, and a disgruntled star paints a future fraught with uncertainty for Red Bull. If things don't change radically in the short term, Verstappen could choose to activate his exit options, and he will have no shortage of suitors. Teams like Mercedes, which has shown interest in the past, or even emerging projects like Aston Martin, could offer it the competitive platform that Red Bull seems unable to guarantee today. The risk isn't just losing Verstappen. It's the domino effect his departure could trigger: the loss of key sponsors, the exodus of remaining talent, and a collapse in public perception of Red Bull Racing as the benchmark team in Formula One. The brand that for more than a decade was synonymous with innovation, audacity, and victory now risks being perceived as a declining powerhouse, unable to adapt to a new competitive cycle dominated by McLaren and other rivals. In this context, Red Bull's fate in Formula One doesn't depend solely on improving the RB21. It depends on rebuilding its identity, regaining internal stability, redefining its operating culture, and demonstrating to Max Verstappen and the world that it can remain a team capable of fighting for titles in the most competitive era the sport has seen in decades. A monumental challenge that will test not only their technical ability but also their resilience as an organization. History is not yet written. But one thing is certain: if Red Bull doesn't rise to the challenge it faces, this 2025 season could be remembered not only as the year it lost a championship, but as the year it lost its greatest champion. The 2025 Formula One season is writing a narrative that, just a few months ago, would have seemed impossible. Red Bull's seemingly unbreakable dominance has been shattered. McLaren, with a combination of technical innovation, strategic leadership, and perfect on-track execution, has taken the lead. Max Verstappen, the undisputed champion of the recent era, now finds himself in a position few would have anticipated: that of the hunter, not the hunted. What we've seen in the opening races isn't simply a shift in the lead in the standings. It's the birth of a new power dynamic in Formula One. An era in which tactical excellence and continuous development trump mere explosive performance. And an era in which even the most solid dynasties can falter if they don't adapt to the dizzying pace of evolution demanded by today's championship. The question that remains is as unsettling as it is fascinating. Can Max Verstappen withstand the pressure and find a way to return Red Bull to the top? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a new hegemony, one where McLaren and its young talents not only lead, but transform the very competitive DNA of Formula One? Every race from now on will be a battle not only on the track but also in the minds of the teams, the engineers, and the drivers themselves. Strategic decisions, technical updates, and even movements in the driver market could define not only this year's championship, but the entire structure of the sport for the next decade. The story unfolding before our eyes is not just one of speed and technique. It is a story of pride, resilience, and revolution. And most importantly, it is a story still unfolding where each of us as fans are privileged witnesses to a change of era in real time. That's why I invite you to be an active part of this conversation. Leave your opinion in the comments. Do you think Verstappen will be able to turn things around and reclaim his throne? Or is McLaren destined to inaugurate a new dynasty in Formula One? Do you see any other team capable of breaking into this titanic struggle? Your perspective is essential to enrich this analysis. And if you want to continue experiencing all the intensity of this very special year, don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications, because together we'll follow every twist, every maneuver, and every change that this unforgettable Formula One season has in store for us. The story is just beginning. And the real battles, those that define the great champions and legendary teams, are yet to be written.